Welcome, Lynn. Thank you for joining me today. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Pleased to be here again. Thank you. To talk with you after my last interview with you.
Yes, yeah, it's your turn to come on my channel. And as I said to you before we hit record, that the reason that I wanted to get you on was while you were interviewing me, you shared some information that I think people are going to want to hear because it confirms everybody's suspicions. We hear stories all the time. We see posts and YouTube videos about satanic rituals taking place at very high levels, but we never really hear from anybody that actually has first-hand experience of this. And a
Yeah.
few things that you shared with me, I thought, my God, I'm talking to somebody that grew up with this going on, that was a victim of the most horrific um, acts of nefarious depravity that you could ever contemplate. And I really appreciate you being willing to share this with everyone, Lynn. I really do.
Um, it's probably time that I talk more about it now, actually, than I've ever done before. But I've only been consciously aware that this happened to me for about 6 years, 7 years now, because I was dissociated. So I totally had all of those memories locked away, and they sort of came to the surface from about 2020. 2019, 2020 was when I really started to realize that something quite horrendous had happened to me. And I just, as I say, completely disassociated, which they train you to do so that you keep it a secret, because that's the thing, isn't it? Secrecy.
So your
Um,
memories had been suppressed.
yes. Yeah, I've been suppressed under the guise of mind control, really, because I was subject to MK Ultra monarch programming as part of the satanic ritual abuse. Because they can't, when you're programming someone, it has to be under extreme trauma. So satanic ritual abuse is part and parcel of MK Ultra and monarch programming. So those memories were locked away on purpose, really. They were locked and not to be opened under any circumstances. But you know, the soul is powerful, aren't we? We're powerful people, and
Yes.
when you get to a certain age, and it's time to release Pandora's box, open the lid off and see what the hell is going on with you. So that's,
So,
you know,
sorry, Lynn, how did these memories come back?
well, I'm an energy healer and I'm a soul healer, and I have done that for a long time, since about 2009. So I was working on myself anyway. I had this sort of, I had a very sort of wobbly base, shall I put it? Like I was standing on Jello or jelly or blancmange, and I was always on edge, control freak. Really had to control everything. I felt very unsafe, but I didn't realize I felt very unsafe. So when I started opening up to energy healing and sort of all sorts of stuff like that, I was working through my layers, I suppose. I was working through the layers. So I was working one layer at a time, having no idea anything had happened to me, but asking why I had such low self-esteem, low self-worth. These voices, like almost like a program running in my head, a broken record saying, you're not going to amount to anything. You're useless. You're ugly. No one wants you. No one loves you. Stay small, stay in the background. Da, da, da. Even though I had a good personality and a bubbly personality and loved talking to people and all those things, I had this deep, horrible self-loathing. And I just couldn't work out where it was coming from, because supposedly my childhood was great. So why would I be in this much trouble? Why would I have this problem? So I kept digging and digging. doing the layers. And then it got to 2018, 2019. I started having dreams about being sort of like running scared for my life. And some being or man or whatever was behind me trying to catch me. And I kept getting that over and over again. Then I started dreaming about top hats and men in top hats looking at me with red roses in their lapels. And of course, I didn't have a clue what that was. But I wrote down everything. And then through, meeting people that sort of are in that field, not by coincidence, I'm sure, I started chatting about stuff like that. And because I was a quite, I had a name for soul healing and training other healers, we started chatting about it and things were starting to start, like the cogs were starting to stir. And then I ended up reading Transformation America by Kathy O'Brien, right? And as soon as I started reading that, I started to get shivers down my spine. And I took a turn. I went all dizzy and weird. I put it down like, oh my God, what's going on? And then I couldn't put it down. I had to pick it up, read it again. And then I was forcing myself to read it. And I was getting all these weird, like, like shivers. And I thought, something's happened to me. Something's happened to me. And the more I asked, and kept sort of, I don't know, saying it to the universe, like, what the hell happened to me? What happened to me as a child? I started to get images of my dad stood in front of me with my uncle, and they were both saying to me, shh, shh. And I was thinking, what they on? What is that? And anyway, to cut a long story short, I was sort of, I knew some other really profound healers and people, and we started to dig. And as soon as we started digging, I always remember this moment, this guy that I used to work with, and he tapped in and he'd found an image. He saw an image of me as a child. And he said to me just one thing, one big long statement was, Lynn, did you used to go to the swimming baths on a Sunday morning with your uncle and cousins where you lived? And I said, yes, I did. Yes, I did. He said, something happened there and kept happening there. And you need to unravel that. And I was like, what do you mean? And then I got it. I unraveled it. Someone referred me to a specialist in Canada who was a satanic ritual abuse specialist who had been working for 20, 30 years on people that had been were survivors and helped them. I was recommended to her. So I went and had 10 sessions with her. And that's where I started to really get my memories back. Of course, I couldn't, when I started talking, almost like she put you in a sort of hypnotic state, but not deep. It would just be, she just was bringing you down into relaxation and actually starting to open the memory banks. She had a gift for that, which was quite creepy in a way, as she could do it. I suddenly started, and I didn't feel any terror with it. It was like I was watching a black and white movie. So it was like I was on the other side, if you see what I mean, stood there, and I was watching myself. And I could just reel it off. And at first I thought I was making things up. And I was saying to her, I think I'm going mental. I think I'm going stupid. And she turned around and she said, you have just mentioned 3 rituals to me that you went under, and every one of them is an absolute certain, because I've heard that millions of times before. So you have just come up with regular rituals that they do at the very beginning. So that
So,
was,
your memories from your childhood are they quite sparse?
yes. So normal childhood, memories, hardly any memories of anything, just a few flashes of maybe a family holiday to the beach and cockling. Uh, I remember that, but a few times we went down to Wales, but I can't, I've no
Big
every day.
chunks are missing.
Yeah, big
A-
chunks missing.
And so through this therapy that you had, you've
Yeah,
been able to piece bits together now and fill
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Now, is this something you now looking back on it wish you didn't know? Or are you glad that you
No,
understood all of
you
this?
have to know. You have to
Yeah.
know. Because if you don't know, you can't heal from it. And,
So so what exactly happened? I mean, because you mentioned to me that you'd been to Balmoral and that
yeah,
things were taking place there.
yeah.
But how did you become involved, or your family become involved in joining or participating in events, with
Yeah.
the royal
Yeah.
family?
Uh, the thing is, they weren't present when I was taken to the royal family, so they weren't there. But my father's side of the family, I now sort of have come to the conclusion, have no definitive proof in writing or anything like that. But coming to the conclusion that my father's family, it'd been going on for centuries, so they have been clearers up of elite society parties. So that's what I got, that my grandfather, great great grandfather, my father, they were all members of a satanic sect in the Lancashire area where I was born. And they cleaned up after rituals. So they would go in and wash the place down. They would, like get rid of body parts. They would do everything they needed to do to make it clear, right? Before the next time they did something. And they had these secret places they would run these events. Uh, the swimming baths that I mentioned was, I don't mind mentioning where I was born in Preston, Lancashire. So the swimming baths I went to in the mid 60s was on Lynn Street, and it was massive, and it was a big old like swimming pool, with interestingly looking a bit like a Masonic temple. There was black and white checkerboard floors underneath. And I even saw pictures of that. I found that on the internet. And what they were doing is they were taking me from the swimming pool on a Sunday morning, and they were then taking me down a secret passage at the underneath the swimming pool, and it was right next door to the Freemasons temple.
Right.
So that was very like very convenient. And my uncle that took me every Sunday morning was also a Freemason, a high-ranking one, secretly that we didn't know. And also he was part of the Satanic sect with my father, and they were brothers-in-law. So and the weirdest thing and shocking thing is that when I was first handed over at 4.5 years old to this woman in a green velvet suit the first time, who walked up to the side of the swimming pool, and my uncle took me by the hand and walked to her, and she was my family GP. She was a doctor, and she was my family GP. I could even name her, but I won't do that. But and then I realised in the memory I got that a big one, him and her were involved romantically. So there was like an altercation between them as they came together. She kissed him, and then he handed me over to her, and then she took me for my first ritual, which was underneath uh, the swimming pool, next door. And then they would bring me back. They would bring me back, and he would take me home, and my mother wouldn't even know that I had been through that.
So
Uh,
your mother has no idea of what you've
no,
experienced through your
and
childhood.
and she died in 2011. And what I do know, I remember her telling me distinctly that I stopped eating when I was about just before 5 years old, and that I was so thin that she took me to the family GP, who was the doctor that had taken me for my first ritual. And she said, "There's something wrong with Lynn. She she won't eat. She's having nightmares. She's in trouble."
So
And
did your
yeah,
dad? What about your dad? Have you spoken to him about this?
No, because my dad died in 2014. So
Right.
was he gone by the time I found out? So I couldn't challenge him. I couldn't, and he died of dementia, which is a very common side effect of mind control. So he died of dementia, and his three sisters all had dementia in very, very extreme. And I do believe all of the family, you see, all of the family were had been SRA'd, all of them, and been abused, all of them. It was part of the sort of, just the cycles of that family. And yeah, so that was the first ritual, sort of, which I now realize the three men that turned up on the first ritual in black gowns were my father, my uncle, and my other uncle on my mother's side, who was a senior, the top dog of those two. So the uncle from Yorkshire, my mother's brother-in-law, was the top one. And he was, and all three of them, I only found that out actually about 6 months ago, that it was my father behind the thing.
My God.
I thought he wasn't abusing me. It wasn't him. It wasn't
So
him doing it.
how
Mm.
did this go from next door or underneath a swimming pool in Lancashire? How
Yeah.
did that then lead to Balmoral?
Well, depending on your beliefs, okay, Guy, but because I have an ability to open interdimensional space and portals, that is one of the abilities I've got. So actually, they were seeking out that ability as part of my targeting. So they knew I was able to do that. And I do believe that the royal family, in their energy, I do believe they're reptilians. I think that there is some terrible energy running, through them. And they needed something I had. And so, yeah, they needed to sort of use me to create power. So that's what they did. And then, so I sort of was taken for mind control after that. So that was the first thing. And then I was quite often taken, I believe, to Canada, especially for specialist mind control, which would instill in me certain programs that they could use me for, in very particular ways. Like I was a very powerful remote viewer, so they could use me to remote view. So they were using me for that as well. And so I was sort of taken to Canada. I was programmed in Canada. And then from there, I was taken at times to Balmoral. I was taken to Kensington Palace. Uh, so I've got a memory of Kensington Palace, but very fleeting. But the Balmoral one, more than once, I was taken to Balmoral. And I was taken, it would have been, I have a feeling it would have been in those big breaks they had when they were away, which was what, summer, into end of September. I have a memory of being strung up in one of those out houses where they hang the stags, when they've killed them and they hold them. I have a memory of being strung up by my wrists from the top, and I'm just dangling, and they had me there for hours and hours and hours. And I do believe that I used to black out. I used to go out of body, anything to just not be in the physical body when they were, and you can imagine what they were doing to me, So I've still got problems with my wrists now. I've got carpal tunnel, and damage up the top of my arms. I never worked out where I got that from, to be honest, until now. And now I realise I have so that was going on there. I've got a distinct memory of the whole of the inside of Balmoral. So if I was to draw it, I could draw all of the bedrooms upstairs, tartan carpets. There was a private office next to the Queen's bedroom. I can see it now. I'm walking down the corridor and a private office there, a bedroom's there. Go down, you know, and there's another bedroom on the right there. And Prince Philip used to be in there quite often on his own. You know, I could see it. I could picture. So I must have been walking up and down there. You know, I've been up and down in their bedrooms as well. Like I haven't got particular memories of what I was doing up there, but you can imagine. You could imagine what was going on up there. I have a feeling probably they had me running for my life in Balmoral, you know, like hunting me a little bit, thinking that they were going to kill, you know, me thinking they were going to kill me. You know, because they love the threat of telling you they're going to kill you. Because then that, you know, then you've got that the energy of fear is in your energy body, isn't it? And you know,
Absolutely.
and so I've got memories of that. I know I was taken to Edinburgh more than once on the train by my mum and dad when I was younger, on holiday, or even for the day from Preston, because it was a direct line from Preston up to Edinburgh, the line. I know that. So I don't know what I think my mother, to be honest, was drugged most of the time, was out of it, because I have no qualms in saying I don't think she was complicit in it at all. I think she was totally sort of just like blindsided. And herself, I think she had been interfered with because we had the brother-in-law on her side who was a very high-ranking, you know, 33-degree master mason, and he had money, lots of money, which, you know, go quite often will go with it. He was very successful, had a big house, went on cruises and lots of money, used to give a little bit of money to my mum, you know, stuff like that. So it was very sort of, you couldn't escape it. You know, even if you ran to your mum's side of the family, it was there anyway, and it was there on my father's side. So it was coming from both angles. I
Mm.
had no safe space. There was no safe space. And then they used to take me. Uh, I've had some memories come up of being in a submarine. So I was in a submarine and I was banging on the door. I woke up, I'd been drugged. And this memory was the most in-depth one I've ever had, and that came last year in a dream during the night. And I woke up in a panic, sweating, you know, panic like, and then realizing, and my whole body thought I was back in 1973. I was 8 years old at the time. And I had to talk my body down for days, like we're not in 1973, because I was all like this, you know, like, hey, it's okay. It's okay. Thank God I've got the tools to be able to do it myself, to
Yes.
self down. And they'd stubbed cigarettes on my fingers, and I've still got a scar where, and I even realised that that scar is a scar from where they stubbed a cigarette or cigar into my fingers. And I was banging to get out, and they wouldn't let me. And then they were, you know, sort of doing the, you know, where they try and drown you. That's one of their favourites. So they were doing that over and over again to me. I've had near-death experiences, I feel, through that as well, many times as a child. Was
So
on that point of death, you know, and then they bring you back.
were you with other children?
Yeah, yes. Um, there was those on the submarine. There was definitely, and I think what they would do is take you to special places. So like it was a secret way of taking you. And it was easy at Preston because we had a big docks and we had a military establishment. We had BAC Wharton, which had an aircraft field with the British Aerospace that had MOD contracts running. So they could, I've been there, I know that. I got the memory of being taken in the night to Wharton and being flown out and going to America and being taken to the USA. I think that's how they got me out to Canada. But then they wouldn't put me on you know, I'd be in a box or they'd put me in a crate. And that's why I had such extreme claustrophobia. Always had extreme claustrophobia. all
So are
my
you with other children in these crates, or is each child in?
separate crates. A child would be in each crate,
Yeah.
you
And
know, and
how
they,
many are you talking about? How many are they shipping over at a time?
I don't, Guy, I don't know actually, but all I know that I would, you know, in the memories, I only saw my own crate, but if I'm talking to you now about it, it's interesting. I can almost hear other children whimpering
Hmm.
in the crates next to me. And in fact, they'd be drugged quite often so that they wouldn't cause any trouble. Their favorite thing was to just drug you all the time.
So
Uh, you
when you
know,
went to America,
yeah,
you said before we hit record that you'd been to the White House.
yeah. So I had this memory come up last year too. 2025 was quite a year. I suppose as your body feels safer and you feel more in control and you've done more healing, you're more steady, then your body starts to reveal its secrets because the body never forgets, does it? Your brain might have locked it away, but your body's lived it. So it's got the cellular memory. And yes, I had a dream where uh, I was walking through the White House underneath. So I was deep, dark, I was deep underneath, and I was in this bar, and there was children in cages hanging down from the bar. So there was like a child in one cage, a child in another, a child in another one, almost like they were being selected, you know? So they're hanging down in cages. There's a guy behind the bar serving drinks, cocktails, everything. I'm walking just in normal clothes as about a 7-year-old walking through, and there's a guy stood at a table with a guy sat down drinking, and my name is shouted, Lynn, Lynn, come and meet. Well, should I say his name? I don't know. But I believe it was Richard Burton, the actor. So I've got President, the senior Bush guy, can't remember his, yeah, that one. Uh, yeah, him stood there in a grey suit. I can see it now. He was in a grey suit, and Richard Burton was sat at the table, looked like he was drinking whiskey. And he said, come and meet Richard Burton. And I said, no. I was defiant. And his face just contorted and went really angry. And I was taken away at that very moment. I was grabbed. And apparently, I got from my memories that they took me back for programming on the back of that because they hadn't broken me. They hadn't properly broken me and they needed to break me. So I had to go through another round of MK Ultra to get broken because my spirit was strong and I wasn't gonna concede. And I was in trouble with that. I was severely punished for saying no to walking over. So that was a very clear and specific memory. And I saw another woman, not another woman, another little girl. That's one thing I did see. Another little girl walking around. She was 5 years old and she had a leather skirt on and she was dressed up like a woman, like
Yeah.
sexualized.
Hmm.
And she had high heels on, red lipstick on, blonde hair. I tell you, she looked like that girl that went missing. I don't think
Madeline McCann.
no, the Bennett girl. Uh,
Right.
that one. But it couldn't have been her because my, of how old I am. Because I was born in 65. So this would have been 73, probably 72, 1972, 1973. So that wouldn't have been her time period, I don't think. But she looked just like her, in the fact she was all dressed up and, beauty queen type lipstick and everything. So they had all of these, I suppose they call it kitten programming, all these children that have been programmed to be you know, playthings to men,
Yeah.
you know. We all had different reasons for being used, evidently. Mine was a bit different in the fact that I have that memory of that, but also I know that there were other presidents because I remember Ronald Reagan. and Ronald Reagan was very angry and used to get very angry, and his face he used to frighten me because it looked demonic.
It's funny you mention him, but not a lot of people will know this. But Reagan's house Reagan lived in, his door number was 666.
Hey.
Yeah, and he changed it. He actually got it changed when people started, talking about it. He actually got the door number changed, but it was 666.
He wasn't a good one.
No,
He
no.
definitely
Well, with the exception of JFK, and
yeah,
and we don't know that much really about him,
no, you
but
don't.
were any of them?
I know, quite.
I mean, they're all cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, the infiltration of the US presidency
Mm.
has come in very early on. And I do have a feeling I have a connection to the United States. And whether you believe in these things or not, I do believe I was in the era of when the US Constitution was created, because I've had so many things happen around that. So many people might say synchronicities or coincidences, but synchronicities and things happening. And I just feel that it's almost like they can tell that, they know that. They know who you are. I do believe that. I believe that they know who you are when you incarnate. They have all your records. They know. So it was funny that they wanted me to be in America a lot. I think I was more in the USA than I was in the UK.
Now,
Uh,
this
yeah.
leads me to something else.
Mm.
Now, I asked you before when I was interviewed on your channel, did people notice you were missing? Because you're absent from school, you're in America, you're in Balmoral, you've disappeared for long periods of time. People are going to wonder, where is Lynn? And I
Yeah.
was quite shocked with what you told me.
Well, um, when I asked that question for myself, what I got was that I was cloned, and they've been able to clone for so long that they were cloning me and just popping me back in school, you know. And I've lost all of my pictures. That's another story. But I have no family memories or pictures because I had to leave a situation where I had to leave everything behind because it was dangerous. And but I've still got a few pictures on my iPhone and stuff as a child. But there's one particular picture of me at 12 years old. That always bothered me. And I was looking at it only a few days ago and thinking, I think I'm a clone there. I think that's me as a clone. I think I'm cloned. That's not me. That's not Lynn. It's creepy. I'm about 11 years old, and I don't recognize myself. It's like, that's
You
not me.
know deep down it's not
Look at
you.
the eyes. It's like
It is the
that's
eyes. It's always the eyes, isn't it? No matter how good a job they get. I mean, let's be honest, they really cocked up Jim Carrey, but I do believe that that was intentional to wake people up. I think somebody inside did that purpose, did that on purpose, so people start thinking, hold on a moment, is cloning actually going on? And of course, there's lots of people out there that say it was an actor wearing a mask, it was Jim Carrey wearing a mask for a long. It's all nonsense. They've been cloning for a very long time, and Jim Carrey spoke out far too much. But what they don't say, when they say, well, that was Jim Carrey wearing a mask for fun, where was the fun in it? Why did he suddenly change hands when he was giving signatures, autographs at the end? Why did he talk differently? Why were his mannerisms completely different? His movement, his facial expressions. This is not somebody wearing a mask for fun, and this wasn't someone pretending to be Jim Carrey. It's blatantly obvious that that is a clone, and we've seen it with P. Diddy as well. The P. Diddy that got arrested and went to prison doesn't look like the P. Diddy that was walking around 2 days before.
absolutely. And I mean, to really add in the mix, shall we? Shall we move forwards to the fact that so I find out I've been SRA'd, I find out I've been mind controlled because I am, my healing protocols, I'm very exceptional in being able to bring them. And I think that's part of the nemesis of the maybe the gift. I had the gift, but then, the nemesis is I was targeted for it, or I had to go through that to find the protocols. So now I deprogram others. So I deprogram MK Ultra and Monarch, and I lift out and well, I don't do it. I assist them and hold space for them to lift out the damage from satanic ritual abuse. So I deprogram myself. I managed to fix, I sort myself out, which I have. Uh, and I then start realizing that my life partner, my husband, has changed, and there's something wrong with him. He's one-dimensional. He's going backwards, from a guy who would never watch the news anymore, believed in a higher power and angels, Suddenly, he's like got the telly on, news on all the time. He's talking strange, coming out with strange sort of sentences that he would never have said in the 25 years I knew him. Like, what? Why are you saying that? You've never said that before. His whole character went. And I realized that my husband of 25 years was my handler. So he was there from the very beginning. He'd been MK Ultra'd and SRA'd himself. He was there to handle me, monitor me, watch me, and then wait for me to see if I deprogrammed you. Then he was to play a song 3 times, back to back, in front of me to trigger my suicide program. So that I would go off.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. So my husband, in his infinite wisdom, decided he couldn't do that on some soul level, decided, I can't do it. I can't do it. So he decides he's going to develop this hip problem. So out of nowhere in 2021, he's got this crumbling right hip. Like, where did this come from? Your hip was fine before. He goes for an x-ray. Yeah, it's bad. He needs an operation. He's retired out of work early because he can't do his job. He's depressed because he's in so much pain. He gets a payout, not brilliant payout. And I say, let's pay privately. Let's get your hip fixed. So we book the date privately. We book the date in hospital near where we live, private hospital. And it goes in for the 30th of April, which would, of that date in 2022, was supposed to be a solar eclipse, I think. And I thought, oh my God, that's a day to be operated on, right? Then it gets changed because they can't do it on that day. So it gets changed to 17th of May. Then the surgeon gets COVID. And we get a phone call last minute. Can't do the op. We'll have to reschedule. And guess when they reschedule to? The 6th of June, 2022. 666. And he goes in, me not thinking of the 2022, but I saw the 66 thinking, oh God, that's a great day, So anyway, so he goes in, he has the operation, and they swap him out. And I know people might think, you're nuts. You're imagining this. This is crazy, right? They swap him out and they put a clone in his place. And you think, why would they do that for you? Well, I've got enough ammo when I get all of my memories back. I've got a lot of hobby information. And also, they didn't want me activating. They didn't want me to deprogram MK Ultra people. Yeah, and I do it behind the scenes, and I deal with sometimes bigger names. I can deal with them, right? And I do per bono work as well. I do it for nothing for people that are so desperate, right? So that makes me a target, as you would expect, right? I'm a target. They don't want me deprogramming people. So this clone came in. Now, because I was so busy and I was running a retreat, I was going to Ireland, I was doing this, I was doing that, I sort of like, I now look back and think, how could I not see the signs straight away? But you don't. You expect your husband to come home after you've taken him in. So he comes home and he seems fine. And that's okay. And then 13 days later, I have to go away for 2 weeks. So I brought a nursing agency in to make sure he's like, can you make his sandwich every day? Can you do this? Can you take go shopping? Can you do, just to make sure he's fine? All good. I come home and I don't know. Yeah, there was something different about him straight away. I knew that, but I just thought he'd gone through a lot and he'd just retired and, you know, all of the stuff that goes with that. And I only discovered he was a clone in, this is crazy, 2024. And up to that, we moved to Cornwall. We moved to Cornwall to a beautiful village. We're by the water's edge, having a great time. And this guy is just changing right in front of my eyes. I'm going, there's something up with him. I kept telling everybody, what's up with him? He's not acting right. Is he having an affair? Is he doing this? Is he doing that?
Mm.
Because he was just like cardboard cutout. And he was like just acting very strange. Then he didn't want to, there was a particular incident, and I don't mind mentioning this because this is a real clincher. So we had a massive, like, we had a super king size double bed. It was, massive bed, and he was a 6'2" guy. So plenty of room. And one particular night, we must have just like, I never face anybody when I'm sleeping. I can't stand it. I have to have my back the other way. And I was facing him, and I'd gone to sleep. And of course, he's asleep, and I'm asleep. And I wake up in the middle of the night, and it feels like I'm being sucked through a black hole. Right? It was the weirdest feeling, guy. It was like, like you're asleep, and then all of a sudden you feel like something's pulling you towards something that you shouldn't be going towards. Like it felt like that. I woke up like like that, and he's facing me so near, and my heart's facing him, his chest. It felt like it had come from him. So I got out of bed, and he woke up and watched me, and I was like, and he said, "What's wrong?" I went, "Oh, I just had a nightmare. I'm all right. I just had a nightmare. It's okay." And do you know what? No joking. The next day, he turned around and said to me, "I can't sleep with you in the bed. I'm going to have to move in the spare room." And the next day, he moved in the spare room.
What were his reasons for that? Just because you'd had a nightmare?
Well, he said, "Oh, I can't sleep in this bedroom. I just it's hard work. You breathe too heavily." I said, "We've been married for 25 years, or we've been together 25 years. I thought you got used to it by now. You never, oh no, I can't. I can't. I'm gonna have to sleep in the other room." And he just moved in the second bedroom. And I feel that was absolutely deliberate. Like she she was feeling my energy.
Yeah.
And I have to. So that's what he did.
And did it around the same time? Did he disconnect generally, not just
Yeah,
when you were in bed,
yeah,
but
yeah.
because
Disconnect.
people laugh at me and my wife, but for over 30 years we still hold hands everywhere we go.
We held hands. He wasn't like that. He was a cuddler. My husband was a cuddler. So he would never, ever have said, "I'm going to sleep or move in the spare bedroom." That
Mm,
was totally out of I looked at him like, "Are you crazy? What?" Like, I just couldn't work it out. I tried to get it out
mm.
of him. What is it? Are you unhappy? Da, da, da. All of these things. He just couldn't tell me why he wanted to do it. And he just moved. And that was because I think I got too close. Like, and then there was
Yeah.
things like his fingernails turned purple one day. And I picked his hand up and I went, uh, "Matey, that's a problem. That's hypoxia. Uh, I think we need to get you looked at." He went, "Oh, no, no, no. No, remember," he says, "I've been using that hair dye, that grey away." He says, "It makes my fingernails go funny." And I went, "He's never done that before." And like, there was always an explanation. Or his skin would look mottled sometimes, like on his arms or back. It didn't look natural. And I'd say to him, "What's wrong with your skin? Doesn't look right. Like, do you like what is that? Is that a rash or something?" And the more I started questioning things like that, again, it was an excuse. He started like trying to get dressed in the bedroom, in the other bedroom, stuff like that, because
Oh.
he didn't want me even looking at the skin or the
Mm.
specs. the defects that were starting to appear. Then he started, we've taken pictures and his images were looking weird. So I think twice I said to him, "You're looking shifty in this picture. That's really odd." Because he never looked like that, but he did look like evil in it. And I was like, "Oh, that's weird. You look really weird in this picture." And then the more I started, looking at the pictures, it didn't look like him. It just didn't look like him. And I think I was just getting to that point where the penny was starting to drop. A penny
So
was
what?
drop.
So
It was,
your real husband, you
yeah,
think he was just replaced?
yeah, gone, dead, body gone, the lot. I mean, the whole thing went. He was totally replaced. That machine that was with me was not him in any shape or form. All he had was his memories and he had his voice. He also, I noticed, was his behavior. You know, when they say clones need handlers,
Yes.
his behavior was uh, uh, out of character. Also, if you asked him a question and he didn't know how to answer it, right? I noticed there was a time delay. So there would be a big time delay with him answering, as evidently it was computing, it was running through like what to say, what to say, what to say. Uh, and then I tested him. So these were the final things. And I guessed by then, like, "You're not him. You are not him." I couldn't work out whether he was a walk-in, whether something dark and evil had just come into him, or whether he was actually a proper clone. So I started asking questions like, "Do you remember that holiday we had in 1999?" And he said, "Well, we went away twice." Now, my husband didn't have any memory. He was crap at dates. Well, a lot of men
We
aren't.
all are. Yeah.
We all are. And he
Yeah.
was sort of really terrible. You couldn't ask him a year, he wouldn't know. So I said, "Do you know that holiday we went to?" "Yeah." I said, I'm trying to think. I said, "Did we go over the bank holiday or not?" I said, because I was trying to. He said, "Why do you want to know that?" I went, "Well, I was thinking of that place we visited because I'd like to go again." And he said, "We went on," I think he said something like August the 15th to the 29th. Like, and I thought, "Gotcha, gotcha. I got you." Like, you wouldn't know that. I didn't say that to him, but that was number one, like a big red flag. A red flag. He knows about, he knows in detail that. Then he had the password to my phone and always had the password to my phone. And he had fingerprint only on his phone. Clever, yeah. So I tested him whether he was going into my phone and looking at stuff, right? Or checking my messages or monitoring me for nefarious purposes, for targeting and stuff. So I left my phone in a particular position and I put a salt, pepper one end, and I angled it all absolutely completely, right? I said, "Oh, I'm just popping to the loo." Went to the loo, spent a bit longer than normal, came out, and it was out of alignment. So I knew he'd picked it up. And what I'd done, I changed my PIN number on my phone. Now, the real one, if I'd done that and he tried to go into like, "Oh, I'll sort your app out or I'll do this," would have gone, "Have you changed the PIN on your phone?" He'd just say it, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But he sort of like knew I'd changed it but didn't say anything. So I suppose that was red flags to him or them. She's she's cottoning on. She's cottoning on. And then the last straw was I went away to our caravan in Devon and I was at 90% sure I had a big problem. Uh, what I failed to mention, which I'll have to put in to make context here, is in December 2022, when we were in Cornwall, it was Christmas Day. My boys weren't visiting. I've got a son in America and a son in London. First time ever, we'd never had the boys with us. And I was a bit low because, like, "Oh, family's not here with me and da da da." I'm in the kitchen and I've started to cook Christmas dinner and it's about 11 o'clock in the morning. And he's in the living room playing music on his phone. And he was a David Bowie mad fan all his life. And guess what? Yeah, they programmed me to suicide on a David Bowie song, a particular limited edition song that would be brought in at some point when they were ready. So that morning, I'm sat in Christmas morning in the lounge, and he's trying to play this song, right? And he's trying to play it 3 times, right? And I'm saying to him, on the second one, I went to him, can you stop it? Stop it. You're getting on my nerves. So I got up and I walked out the living room and I went into the kitchen. I said, I'm going to start doing veg. So I'm in the kitchen doing veg with music of my own on in the kitchen, and he comes out playing the third one. And I haven't sussed what he's doing. So I've something in the back of me, this programming that was left, everything else I had done. This back program was sitting at the back, but I had already done so much work, it didn't do what it was supposed to do because my core self was in charge. So he's done that, waiting for me to suicide there and then. So I've got a big knife in my hand, chopping all sorts. The next minute, he's gone in the living room, and the next minute, the knife's in my hand. I've gone with like I'm using, I don't know, what was it? Specialist butter, black peppercorn butter, really expensive stuff. And I couldn't get it out of the tub. It was so hard. And instead of using a spoon or a knife, a proper, flat knife,
Yeah.
because he played that and it was trying to kick in, a suicide program was trying to kick in, the knife went into the butter. I shoved it in to the butter to just take a little bit out to throw in the carrots. And the knife went right through the butter, the other end, and into my hand. And literally, as soon as it happened, I'm sure I was protected, Guy. I'm sure I was protected. The knife went in, boom, like that. And I knew it was major because I was waiting for, like, if I've hit an artery, I'm in trouble. And then it did. It just hit. And it wasn't arterial, thank God. I am a former nurse as well. So, I did nurse training and worked in hospitals for a number of years. So I know how to control arterial bloods and stuff. That was one of our things. So, hands up in the air. I've got the hands up and I'm shouting at him like, hey, so he comes in slowly. And I'm holding the hand up and it's starting to, and he's saying, what happened? What did you do? And I said, oh, I put the carving that, I shoved it in and it came out the other end and I didn't do it on purpose and it's gone in. And he almost like waited for me to like do it again, I think. He just didn't, honestly, Guy, he acted totally, it was creepy. He just stood there looking at me. Now, the old one, my old real one, he was really good like that. It would be, come here, let me get the hand, hold on, we'll have to get you. I'm saying to him, I think I'm going to have to go to hospital, because I'm going to have to get that looked at. And he's saying the hospital's shut on Christmas Day. And I said, no, it's not. But
Hospital's never shut.
it was just really bizarre. And I know now I was under waves of like black magic and all sorts, really hammering it at me that day. And do you know what? I can't even explain to you why I didn't go to hospital. He wouldn't drive me. I couldn't drive. So I ends up with a bleeding hand all night, propped up on a pillow, and I'm praying. And I say, oh, please, God, please help me. Like, I don't know what's going on. My head's just everywhere. I'm scrambled. I don't know what I'm doing, right? And my son messages me from the States and says, oh, you're right, Mum. Can I talk to you? Like it's Christmas Day because they're 9 hours behind. I said to him, I've stabbed my hand with a knife by accident. I said, and I need to get it fixed. He said, go to the bloody hospital. What are you doing? Like, go to the hospital. But of course, he was just he was wanting me. He was wanting it to be a lot worse, evidently. But that was the incident that I now realize was their attempt to try and suicide me. And they realized that the program didn't work, or the best I could do was stab myself in the hand. I wasn't going to go and take it and shove it in me wherever, So that then I didn't realize at the time what that attempt was, but I now realize what it was. And so we get to 2024. I know this clone is existing. I speak to 2 or 3 other authorities that I know in the world, who are used to clones, who are people that deprogram, you know. I can't mention their names, they're sort of in the background. And I rang one and said, you know, I've got a problem here, I think. So I started talking about it, and they were saying, oh my God, that's classic. That's classic. You need to get out. You need to come away from that, from that.
Yeah.
Oh, I said, of course I do. And my inner guidance was, you have to leave. So I'm at the caravan. He's down in Cornwall. He wants to come up and see me. I'm petrified. Like, what if he knows that I know?
Yes, of
Is
course.
he going to try and kill me? Is
Mm.
he going to try and kill me? Like,
Now, had you told your sons about any of this?
I hadn't told them about the clone because I didn't want to frighten them. It's
Yeah.
like, it's not like it's someone, a normal person trying to kill you, and you can run to the police. And
Mm.
you can't say that with this, can you? So
Mm.
I I was okay. I had some good advice. I had some good friends, and I sat there. And I normally went to the caravan in March anyway to air it for the season, so it wasn't anything out of character. But I was like gathering my evidence. I was gaining inner strength. Like, I'm going to have to run. And then he turned up for 2 nights and was watching my every move, watching my every move. And then one particular moment, I was mentioning something. I can't remember what it was now, but I know that he looked up and he looked at me with a demonic stare. They were starting to, like, the energy was coming through him. And I thought, I'm in trouble. So I was supposed to come home for Easter, and this was like the Tuesday. And he said, oh, I'll drive home. We both had a car. I'll see you on I'll see you on Thursday. I said, yeah, I'll see you on Thursday. And I wanted to, you know, like, I didn't want to come anywhere near him really. And he wouldn't want to come near me. Before, he didn't want to come near me. But this time he made me kiss him on the lips. So, like, oh God. So I kissed him on the lips. And then he said one telling thing. He said, I'll see you on Thursday. And then he just looked at me and said, if you come home on Thursday. So he was telling me,
Uh,
you know, I know you know.
mm.
And so by Thursday morning, I packed my bags out of the caravan and gone. And I literally left my house with one small suitcase because I was going to the caravan, one small suitcase, my laptops, a few things, and that's all I had to my life and world when I left. And I had to just leave because I was guided that if you stay in that situation, you're asking for trouble,
Yeah.
asking for trouble. So I was told that they were using him, you know, by the nefarious forces, the people that program me
So,
would working through him.
so obviously now you're no longer together.
No,
I'm guessing you don't have any communication at all, but you must have gone through a divorce.
no.
No, you're not divorced. So what do your sons think about what's happened? I
Oh,
mean,
sorry.
have you?
It's not their dad. It's not their dad. So
Right,
he's
okay,
their
okay,
stepdad. He's their stepdad. Sorry.
right.
So actually, it's better because their
Yes.
dad is fine, you know? So my first husband, he's fine. So that's that. That's that sorted. Uh, but yeah, so they were more understanding. And in fact, were when it all happened, both of their reaction was, well, he never cared about me anyway, I don't think.
Right.
So they were very nonchalant about it, like,
Yeah.
do what you need to do, Mum. You do what you need to do. I had to get out of the country for 3 months. I went to Spain for 3 months, and I was a bit. I felt like I was being hunted down, and
Mm,
I was sent a few signs, really, like, we're watching you. But then I do believe I'm protected. I do believe
mm,
now I'm divinely protected. I have no fear now of that at all. I've no fear of that. And what have I got to lose?
mm.
Because I'd be dead anyway. Because the activation point apparently on all MK Ultra survivors and particular ones that have got government secrets or have got things that could be damaging if fully revealed, yeah, they want to suicide them in their 50s normally. And it's interesting, my auntie, who was the wife of that uncle from Yorkshire who was on my mum's
Yeah.
side, who was a Freemason, she died at 59. And her daughter, Sheila, died at 59 too. And I think that that is no coincidence. I
Mm.
think that they were put to pasture, like, and I feel
Yeah.
that it was almost like they were saying she's 59, she needs to go, and they were trying to do that. But yeah, that's that's that was a huge thing for me in 2024. Dark Night of the Soul.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you realize that your own husband has died. You've not known he died 2 years before. So you lose your husband in 1 second. He's
Yeah.
gone. Like he's dead. He's been dead 2 years and he's gone. So that's that. I'm a widow. Really. That's why I'm not divorcing it. Why would you divorce a clone? So it's like he's not my husband. And he's still alive. I mean, I would have thought they would have got rid of the clone by now. I really do.
Well, the
But they
problem
haven't.
with doing that perhaps is that then reinforces your story.
Yeah.
So they need him wandering around saying, I think she's crazy. I don't know what she's talking about. They need him to do that, I suppose.
Yeah.
So going back to your childhood, what what period of time are we talking about? It sounded like this started around 5 or 6 years old. I mean, how long did that go on for, Lynn?
I was told that I was sexually trafficked and abused and trafficked around to these politicians and presidents and royalty till I was 14 years old. When I was about 14 to 14 and a half, apparently I lost, they called it juice, in the fact that I was just not effective. And I was actually flat as a pancake. And so basically, like, we can't use her anymore in that capacity. So thank God for that. So that stopped. But because I've been programmed and I had fragments that were alters, those alters were trained to do particular jobs and they were carrying on. I was told that my programming, my ability to be an asset, they call it, stopped at 44 when I woke up. So as soon as I woke up and I started to awaken and start to see reality a bit differently and all of that was when my ability to be the asset stopped. It's almost like I was starting to shut that down myself,
Mm,
like, no, I won't be used in that way, even though I didn't know in any shape or form what was happening. I had no idea. And in fact, core Lynn, or the real Lynn, had no idea that she had 3 altars. And those 3 altars were being used. I was a remote viewer for the secret space programs and for military and black ops. So I could go and locate a person in a building up to 100 meters that was hiding for them to get, right? Which I know that evidently that's what they use me for. And remember, the karma for that, for anybody who's thinking, well, they did it against your will, but do you get no, the karma goes to the controllers and the programmers because you're being, it's totally against your will. Yeah. And in fact, I had anger problems as a younger woman. And I realized now why. Because part of me was screaming, like
mm.
I shouldn't be being used this way. So yeah, I was used for remote viewing. And I do believe that I probably was used in some of the secret space programs. I have a feeling. And I have a feeling Arizona is connected to that because I've been to Arizona a few times. And when I went to Phoenix, Arizona, I had a really off feeling, like a remembrance, but like of not a good remembrance. It was like I was on edge all the time because I feel like that's probably where they were taking me around there or parts of because there are stuff going on down there, isn't there? And Nevada's next door, isn't it? And all that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think there was things that they forced me to do. The Um, so, of course, you know, as you sort of wake up and you start to gain control, and as I say, the ways I was shown how to deprogram, then you find that you become more aware of what you might have been doing, if you know what I mean. Because of course, what skills you have for the light, for service to humanity, they're going to flip, aren't they? And they're going to want you to use them nefariously, if you know what I mean. Yeah, Guy. But
Yeah.
I'm a great believer that anybody that's ever been used on those terms, and you had their gifts and abilities used in a nefarious way, when you wake up and deprogram and you clear all that, and you're almost like back in the jurisdiction of the power, whatever we call it, the light, then you negate everything you did. All of those things you did is cleared, and it actually
Yeah.
then affects them in a negative way themselves. Yeah, whatever they were using you for is then deconstructed as soon as you flip it.
You mentioned earlier on that this wasn't just taking place at the White House, but you'd been to Canada as well. But it sounds to me like predominantly what was going on was taking place with the ritualistic
Yeah,
abuse. That was happening at Balmoral, but you also mentioned Kensington Palace.
yeah, yeah. I do believe Prince Charles, King Charles, I do believe he was doing that stuff from a very early age. I have a memory of him. It's not full, but he definitely was part of my abuse. And I feel he was fragmented himself. And I feel that probably would be an altar of his. I have a feeling he's been mind controlled, and that an altar of his would be doing the nasty pieces, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Uh, and I've got a memory of a bedroom in Kensington Palace. I've got a memory that Diana might have been around. I don't think I met her, but I heard her voice. I heard her voice. Uh, I believe that she probably found out what was going on.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. And she was piecing it all together, and it was all starting to, you know, gel together of the whole picture,
Well,
you know.
that's kind of similar. That's just a similar theory to what I have with Meghan Markle. I can't help but wonder because I'm not at all remotely interested in what the mainstream media and the press have to say about anything, frankly. But stepping back and looking at it, at what's gone on there, it seems to me that it's quite possible that she suddenly realised what she'd married into
Yeah,
and had perhaps confronted Harry and said, I had no idea how
yeah,
dark your family are because they'd been asked by Philip, how dark will the baby be? And that
yeah,
was flipped into a narrative about skin tone, but it wasn't. That was, people that have sort of dug into this further that had spoken to both of them were told that actually no, it was a reference to will this child be raised dark, the dark side of things.
I get you.
Yeah, and they'd of course taken her passport away from her and stopped her seeing her friends and so on. And so it looks to me like she was scared
Yeah,
and that they had to get out. So they went somewhere it very much in the public eye so people could see them, see what's going on, but completely swamped with security, from CCTV to actual security people, security guards. That seems a brilliant move to me because if you went somewhere discreet and low and remote, then you're vulnerable, aren't you? But if you're in the center of somewhere that is kind of show busy, then people are going to see you all the time. It's a lot harder to make you disappear.
yeah. And the area of California they went, which is near Ojai, Montecito, I went to and I stayed there. And it's a very spiritual place. And I'd say it's a very protective zone. I felt very amplified there and very safe myself. So I mean, might not be a coincidence why they've gone to that area. It's quite a lovely area actually, and I went We drove round their estate. We couldn't go in the, it was gated off, but we walked, there was a tour that went round the outside. It's a beautiful area. So I can see why, they moved to that area. But I don't even believe that he's Charles's son. To
No,
me, I don't think
no,
he's
I agree.
son. I think that's where maybe you've got shall we say a better energy running through him, that he is able to, he had that he's got the energy of Diana, of course, but he's got like Hewitt's bloodline, not theirs.
Mm.
But then she's got a past, and she's supposed to have been a yacht girl, or we believe, don't we? So who knows what the history is there? But yeah, I think, and a lot of them, maybe not all of them, take part in the rituals. Maybe there's only the inner sanctum of the royal family who are holding the key power, or have got,
Mm.
they're on the list of accession to the throne, that have to create do the dark magic circle, the black magic rituals. Maybe only them have to do it, because if they ascend to the throne, then they're part of I don't know, the triad of power and everything else
Yeah.
or the secret, the secret British sort of, stuff going on. So I believe that maybe the outer ones, the cousins, and they don't actually get to see that side of it at all. It makes sense, like for me, because I didn't know that my aunties and uncles and people like that were taking part in stuff like that. I had
Mm.
no idea until my memories came back. But from the outside, no one would know.
Is
It's
there anybody still within your family that was around then that you can approach?
well, the problem is they've all been affected by it in a negative way. So I think I've actively got family members that have been SRA'd and mind controlled, and they
Mm.
are in the programming. And so when I started talking about being abused as a child, and I think I mentioned it on Facebook to my followers or something, and it was coming through, and I had no idea really of the implications of what that meant. I was, my cousin was on my WhatsApp within 2 minutes at 9:30 in the evening, trying to ring me, and then messaging me saying, "I don't think you should be putting that on Facebook. Take that off. Take it off. Thank you very much. Don't tell me what to do. You're slandering our family. I haven't mentioned you at all. I haven't talked about you at all." So that was a reaction I
Mm.
thought that was over, like that was a shut up,
Yes.
you know? So I do think that they are complicit in that. And I can't say, of course, I'm not mentioning names or anything, but they are linked themselves to high-ranking police officers. I'm talking chief constables and beyond. So it all runs down that side of my family. So, we've got implications again of Freemasonry and 33 degree and all of that stuff running in my side of the family. So I couldn't go to them. It would be dangerous
Yes, of course.
because
So,
they are, So I'm cut off from all my family except my two boys. I can't see any of my family, unfortunately. You
so
know,
where obviously people that have experienced something similar or believe that they have and need help, how can they get in touch with you, Lynn? How's the best way of them
so
contacting you?
they can message me via my website, which is crystalstarascension.com. Maybe we'll put a link underneath, but they can
Mm.
message me. There's a contact button. You can message me. Uh, Also, I have my main timeline. I do lots on there, which is Lynn Flowers. I have a Facebook group called Starseeds Rising, which very much I talk about interference and targeting in there. So I'm really reaching out to people that feel they've been targeted and been interfered with, and I'm giving them methods to protect their energy, really, and also to be giving them, hopefully, wise counsel or wisdom on what I've lived and how to deal with it. And there are ways to clear that. Look, I'm clear. I'm clear, and I'm also we're all a work in progress. So of course, I'm always checking and making sure that am I, coming from a clear space. Is there something running that I need to know about? But I have been reassured and over again that that suicide programming was the last bit of programming that was actively working. And then we got that to, we got that to shut down, thank goodness. And that's the worrying thing, because of course everybody will have that back program running, which almost like wants to activate when you try and deprogram. That's why you've got
Sure.
to do it in a very safe and loving environment with people that are experts. So you make sure that you ask for guidance and you feel discernment, and you could just go to someone you feel drawn to, that you feel you can trust. Yeah. But just use discernment, because there's a lot out there that actually are traps. It's
Yeah.
almost they're run by the elite, or the parasites, shall we say, run by the parasites that actually want to capture people that are trying to escape it, because they just want to drag them back in or just waste their time. And I've met those people. I've met those people, and I'm lucky to be able to see through people. So I was able to use that discernment. But it can be done. We have got the tools now. We can do.
Mm.
And there's no, and I think, Guy, more for me that drives me is the children. So it's trying to get to the children, or trying to get to these children that have been ritually abused, and knowing that I can adapt some tools into easy things that will do so much to lift that out, so they're not suffering for the rest of their life.
Yes.
Because people suffer for years and years and years trying to find the answers, because of course it messes around with your mental health. I've been so lucky that I'm very resilient and very strong, so I always bounce back. So whenever I've taken a layer off, yeah, I've gone on a bit of a deep dive for a little while and then come way up, like I'm lighter, brighter, I'm on it, I'm fine. But we've got to stop this, and the more that our, the survivors talk about it. And like, government was involved, British government, there's
Well, that was something
politicians,
I was going to ask you, Lynn.
you know
You mentioned American presidents, but what? And it's not just British government officials that is rattling around in my head, but also, of course, Jimmy Savile.
Well, Jimmy Savile, interestingly, I did go and do a deep dive with myself and ask the question whether he abused me. And I was told no, right? But what's interesting is he used to drive from Blackpool to Preston, or is it Liverpool to Blackpool, every year, and take a bunch of disabled youngsters in a big, like, I can't remember, was it an open top bus? I think it was an open top bus, something like that. And it would come past our house on the Blackpool Road. I lived right by it. And I would walk down every time. My mum would take me down, and we would stand there and we would wave as he drove past. And he would wave out the window with all these children. I find that a bit creepy. And like, that's symbolic of, that's why I asked the question, why was she doing
Yeah.
that? Was I involved with Savile? And I was told no, but Ted Heath came in. So Ted Heath,
Yes. Well, there's enough evidence on him now for
yeah,
him to be, if he was still around, obviously, for him to be charged.
he was connected to me. Ted Heath, for sure, that came up. And there was a French Prime Minister as well connected. I know that I had dealings with a French Prime Minister, and there was other stars as well. There was like actors. I mean, Richard Burton's never been mentioned in any of the, I looked at Kathy O'Brien's stuff and looking to see if I could see him, and he's not mentioned anywhere. But it was definitely him. It was
Mm.
definitely him. I know it was, because I saw him, as clear as day, sat there drinking his whiskey. You
Yeah.
know, he was a prolific drinker, wasn't he? He was sat there. So I know I saw him, and I say, I think most presidents have been involved in this, on in one way or another. I mean, maybe there's some exceptions, who knows, but I definitely, and also high-ranking senators, that were being groomed for the presidency.
Do you think it's possible that Andrew is the scapegoat for the British monarchy, or the establishment rather? That I'm not saying that he didn't do those things. Of course, it's pretty obvious he bloody did, and and I can't stand the man. But
Yeah,
um, is it possible that, as far as the nobility are concerned, the British aristocracy, if you like, he's the one that's going to take the fall because they don't want anybody digging any further than him?
absolutely. It seems obvious to me that he's the patsy, isn't he? And they'll let
Hmm.
him take the full brunt to try and satisfy the people that justice has been done, as in Charles's statement of what he said. In fact, Charles, or even if he is the real Charles, or whether he's a clone, even, God knows. But the Charles was at it. He was doing it. He was doing it, and I believe that the Queen, was involved. I don't seem to feel any. Oh no, actually, I say that to you, and she was involved. She was involved. Yes, she was. Yes, she was. Because she was one of the first characters who turned up in my dreams when I first started to wake up. She stood looking at me and was talking to me about Alice in Wonderland. And that's all
Oh, wow.
programming took. That's all programming took. So she definitely must have been involved with it. She must have been. And Philip. And I feel Philip was very dark. You know, I can feel that he probably used to use the cellars of Balmoral as torture chambers. Um, that's really weird. That's really weird. I'm saying that to you because I've not had that before. So there you go. That's coming in. I can see him in a Nazi uniform.
Oh, crikey.
Yeah, I can see him in a Nazi uniform with a whip. That's interesting. I've not seen that.
Shit.
So yeah, oh yeah, they were. It's to raise the power. It's not. They don't just do it because they want to do that every day of their lives and da da da. It's more, it's linked to the power that they have to
Yes.
generate to keep it. If there is a reptilian in there, they've got to generate the power to keep the image, in the body. So they've got to do fresh, innocent children with great light. That's what they're going for, which is
This is
disgusting.
the Loosh, isn't it? The Loosh farm. Yeah.
Loosh. They're taking a loosh,
Mm,
I think I was looshed out by
mm,
4 I'd been so used and abused and used in that way that I'd almost gone dry. They couldn't do anything with me.
mm,
That like she's no good, so they discard you. Normally they
mm.
try to kill you off. Normally, like if you're no good, they'll try and kill you off. But I suppose with my remote viewing skills and stuff like that, oh, we'll keep her for that.
Mm.
That should be great, And I'm sure I was doing, as I say, probably big remote viewing stuff. I can imagine that. I was told actually that I used to, under that altar, I used to train others to remote view. I would train others to remote view. Probably that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, all everybody that's been abused and in this way, and MK Ultra. I mean, it's an abomination. It just is. It's hell on earth, and as I say, it has to stop. People don't believe you. They can't comprehend. Yet, look at me. Would I be lying about this? Why would I want to lie about this? Why would I want to like? Why would I want to talk about it? Never mind anything else,
Yes.
you know?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
these people need to be believed, you
Mm.
know, and and also I pray for all of those that didn't make it and were sacrificed and didn't survive, because it takes a lot for you to survive that. You have to be a strong soul, and that's another thing, Guy. They choose the bloodlines, the DNA. They choose the DNA quite often of shall we call the slavery MK Ultras and the abused, because they have got maybe particularly strong sort of uh, they've got a good stamina for torture, shall we put it that way? All right. So they quite often will know some bloodlines are able to, withstand more torture than others.
My word.
Yeah, honestly, and
That's
and
incredible.
they'll choose those as their slave race as such, and I feel that's what my dad was linked to. It was a very strong bloodline where we could hold a lot, so they used us all the way down, you know. Um, so yeah, that's
Well, thank you, Lynn. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It's incredible, and I think there are going to be people that watch this that it's going to resonate. Uh, because for me, it sort of confirms everything I thought. But as I said at the start, we've heard people talking about things. We've seen a snippet online or some podcaster mention something. But how often does somebody actually sit up and say, "This is what happened to me," and
yeah,
and here I am,
yeah,
and so now you've taken those experiences and used it to help other people,
yeah.
and so you were saying Crystal Star Ascension
.com, yeah.
dot com. That's
Yeah.
the best place for people to find you if they need help.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll always find me on Facebook and
Yeah.
want. And I will be, yeah, I run lots of healing courses all year. And I'll probably be launching end of this year, beginning of next year, a specialist training course for other healers to be able to heal, to be able to use the protocols to lift out SRA in others. And also we'll be doing children's protocols at some stage.
That's
We
fantastic.
which will be needed. And I do think
Yes.
there'll be an army of healers will be able to help these, and therapists and
Yeah.
everybody working together to lift this out very quickly for children as well, you know. And let's hope we get this stopped. The
Mm.
that's
Well, it's certainly, I think, in light of, obviously we had the Jimmy Savile scandal, and people sort of that now is something that most people look back and make a joke about Jimmy Savile. It's kind of almost been forgotten, I find it amazing that people are still prepared to pay their TV license,
yeah,
which was funding people to be able to do this, and now I think with Epstein and the connection to Mandelson and Andrew, and of course, dozens of high profile names. It's brought it back into the spotlight again, and people are now not looking at it. My God, I used to love Jimmy Savile when I was a kid. They're looking at this now, thinking, "Oh my God, these people are disgusting," and the
yeah,
list is endless. So I think that the public are more aware of what's going on now, and I
yeah,
think that they're more ready
yeah,
to hear things like this. I think, if you came out with it 10 years ago, it would have been a different story. But right now, I think, I think everything's on the table to even the most asleep of people to
absolutely.
to really grasp this. But anyway, Lynn, thank you once again for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing this really personal journey with us. I can't thank you enough for doing that. And I hope that anybody watching this that finds themselves kind of resonating with what you've said reaches out to you. I'll put the link in for your website and Facebook too. But I hope this helps other people. And I hope people watch this and tell other people to watch it and share it,
Yeah.
um, so people can see what's going on.
I'm living proof it can be healed,
Yeah.
and we can have a good life. We can have a positive life. We can have a happy life, and that my happiness is from making and flipping it and making it sort of
Mm,
something that's a positive, and that I then can help so many others. And that's the way you heal, don't you? You flip it and you use your knowledge to
Yeah,
help others, and
yeah,
and I do feel that all of this reveal now is just gonna it's gonna it well, we'll get a new world eventually.
yes. I think so
And it
too.
will be
I
better.
think we're close. I think,
Um,
I know there's a certain orange individual in America that's trying his best to, start World War Three. And whilst I'm saying that, I do appreciate he's a puppet, that his strings are pulled from way higher. But I think as much as we've got that going on, there is a glimmer of hope that after all of this chaos and mess, that we're going to see the return of how things are supposed to be.
I think so.
I can see that, and back to living in a higher vibration ultimately. But thanks once again, Lynn. I really appreciate your time, and I hope other people find this as fascinating as I have. But for
Thank you.
now, thank you, Lynn.
Bye.
Bye bye.